Oh, that means it's been working out. So yeah, stop it.
And he and I broke up really bad about the 80s. So don't expect things to go.
And that's to see me after the meeting. And you heard me talk before about the Steve Jobs movie. You know, one of our CEO Club members has produced that movie, and we finally got a release date. For those of you that haven't heard the story, it's pretty interesting. One of our members had got the idea to produce the movie on Steve Jobs. Never was in the movie business. He's a business guy in the CEO Club. And he said he learned how to produce a movie on Craigslist. He literally got some stuff. He Googled how to do a movie. And anyhow, so the movie shot starring Ashton Kutcher, or however you say his name is. Anybody see any of the tidbits that they had on ABC? Or they had a couple of the promos out 4 or 5 months ago. So we thought we were going to have the release back in April. What caused the delay is that the marketing company told him, the guy's name is David Hume, that he needed a minimum of $20 million for the marketing before they would get behind him and do the release, because it's, that's what you got to do. That's Hollywood, I guess. So he had a big borrow and steal, literally, and called a lot of CEO Club members, and he raised the money, and they have a release date. The movie's going to be released August 16th out in L.A. So we talked about having a premiere in New York. I don't know. I haven't not heard and got confirmation whether we're going to have the premiere. They definitely have it in Los Angeles, August 16th. So if anybody's interested in going to that, just let me know, and I'll let you know what all the arrangements are as soon as I hear. Should be a lot of fun because there'll be backstage after the event with all the stars of the movie and so forth. The following CEO Club meeting in September 26th. So mark your calendars for that. The speaker is, what's his name? Here's Tim Connor. Saw a clip, and this guy is really, really sharp. So you're going to really enjoy hearing him. He's a best-selling author as well, like Jim. And he talks about sales and management and leadership and development. I mean, really, really good. And mark your calendars, too. We're having the Halloween parties coming back at my house. October 26th, that's the Saturday before Halloween. The vote came in before Halloween rather than after Halloween. So hope you all can make it. It really is a lot of fun. And I talked about before, October, November, later this year, we're going to have a trip over to India and China, also Abu Dhabi. Anybody been to Abu Dhabi? I tell you that, you got to go see Abu Dhabi. All the money, everybody talks about Dubai. And Dubai is unbelievable. And they're like building New York City all at the same time in Dubai. But all the big money is in Abu Dhabi. I mean, Dubai only gets about 16% of their wealth from oil. Abu Dhabi has all the oil over there. And, I mean, you got to see some of the hotels over there. There was one hotel where we stayed at. Bruce, did you stay at that hotel, too? It was a former prince's residence. And he didn't like the way the curtains came out or something, so he left it and they turned it into a hotel. I mean, the rooms were like 2,000 square feet. I mean, each of the rooms. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And what's the big hotel in Dubai? The one that's $2,500 a night. The Burj. Anybody been there? You were there, weren't you, Bruce? They charge you $75 if you want to just walk in the lobby. I mean, it's just crazy. I don't know whether a hotel's worth $2,500, but I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful hotel. Okay, let's listen to our speaker. Introducing Jim is like introducing the president. When you introduce the president, you just say, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. I'm just going to say, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the author and best-selling author of Think Like a Black Belt, Jim Bouchard.
Listen, there's only one thing you need to know to think like a black belt. Doug asked me earlier, he said, how much time do you need to get this idea across? Well, I don't want to disappoint you, but you can do it in about 20 seconds. Here it is. Perfection is not a destination. It's a never-ending process. Right? That's the most powerful bit of philosophy I learned from my 30 or so years in martial arts. Perfection is not a destination. It's a never-ending process. And really, that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, about transformation. Now, one of our leading geniuses in the business world, John P. Potter, I'm sure most of you are familiar with, recently he published an article, I believe it was in Wall Street Journal, where he said that businesses and business people, more importantly, that aren't willing to change will die. They cannot survive the business environment that's going on right now. Martial arts, we've known that all along, right, John? That's it. In fact, Lao Tzu said that a couple thousand years ago, didn't he? The only constant in life is change. That's it. That's what we embrace. I'm going to tell you how I arrived at that in a couple of minutes. But first, because I have to give you my resume and credentials, right? Live up to the introduction. About 30 years ago or so, I was living in this trailer out in Sebago Lake, and that's where the whole process started. But with you guys, it's interesting. When I come to CEO clubs, I've been blessed to do so many of Boston, Dallas, Fort Worth. And the cool thing about talking to you guys is you already think this way, right? You already understand what I'm saying. The trick is, can we get everybody in your organization, everybody in our community to think this way, to embrace this process of change and transformation, personally first. CEO Club is incredibly important in this effort. And it's about you guys working together, right? That's what inspires me about this. Every time I come to CEO Club, I hear stories about people collaborating, sharing ideas, helping one another. And that makes me think, it's weird that I make this connection, but it makes me think about starting my career, my ignominious career as an amateur boxer when I was 32 years old. And I want to tell you about my first and only sanctioned fight. My record will forever stand at 0-1. As John and I joked about earlier, we're not going to talk about the unsanctioned fights today. My sanctioned fight record is 0-1. I was set up to fight someone who was about the same age and experience as I was. And he scratched that day and the flu. So my trainer came to me and he said, "Don't worry, I got another fight for you." Young guy. Met the guy, said, "Yeah, nice guy, I'll fight him." But I kept looking at his trainer and I kept saying, "Damn, that guy looks familiar." Couldn't place it though. My trainer, Dave, he says, "Jim, don't worry about it." I said, "Yeah, Dave, you're not fighting today." At any rate, round one, my nickname, I should tell you, was Penguin because of my short arms, right? This kid was about 6 feet tall. He had a wingspan like a condor. And within the first round, turned my head into a Pez dispenser. So anyway, he gave me a good shot. I'm laying on the canvas. I'm looking up, counting the lights. And here are a bunch of my buddies sitting at ringside. Now, here I am laying there half sensible. What do you suppose my buddies are yelling at this point?
Get up, get up.
Freaking vultures, huh? Yeah. They're yelling, "Get up, get up, get up." Well, long story short, I did get up and finish the round. My trainer threw the towel in, and I don't know why this is when you're a fighter, right? You're completely out of it until you see that towel go, and then all of a sudden your brains are back somehow, right? So he took me out of the ring. He said, "We'll live to fight another day." So, did I tell you it was my birthday that day? So these buddies of mine from ringside, they decided to take me out. I'm sorry, ladies, to an adult entertainment facility. We'll call it that for tonight. After a few kamikazes, that was my preferred drink at the time. My nose was horribly broken for the second time in a month, so I've got cotton stuffed up my nose. That must have been real sexy, huh? At any rate, there I am sitting there, and I turn to these guys and I say, "You're my friends, right? You guys love me?" He said, "Sure, Jim, we love you. You're our buddy, right?" I said, "Well, then the next time I'm laying there on the canvas, you guys should be yelling what?"
Stay down.
Stay down. It took me a long time to realize it, but I was absolutely wrong. That's absolutely wrong. Those are the kind of people we want in our organizations. Those are the kind of people we want with us at all times, right? Now, I may be speaking out of school here, but have you ever had just a miserable, horrible year where you risked everything to keep your business going? Where you've paid other people before yourselves? Where you've taken a second on your house to keep the business going? Of course, a lot of the people who you're doing that for may not understand it or even know about it, right? That's out there. Those are the times when you want people around you, and that's what CEO Club and organizations like this are about, right? People that are there in your corner, no matter what, no matter how stupid you're going to be, and they're there to prop you up and keep you going again, right? So there it is. I told you I lost the fight, right?
Who was the trainer?
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, I can tell you that story, sure. Thanks. I'll take you with me everywhere. My trainer afterwards, all right, looked across and he said, I said, "Hey, tell me, who the this guy. And we shook hands afterwards, and turns out he was the trainer for a man named Joey Gamache, a guy named Joey Gamache. Joey Gamache was a two-time world champion from Maine. And so that was his trainer. And I was fighting his son. I said, yep, never had a fight before, huh? Did they set me up or what? Absolutely. All right, the resume. Why should you be listening to a bald guy who spent 30 years of his life running around in pajamas? About 30 years ago, a little more than 30 years ago, I was living in a trailer in Sebago Lake. For those who have been to Maine, you know it's damn cold up there. And Sebago Lake is particularly cold. I lived about a 1950s vintage trailer. You can remember what these were like, right? And at that time, let's just say, if somebody asked me earlier, I said I didn't want to spoil the story if I'd ever served in the military. No, when I should have been serving in the military, I was serving myself up very healthy doses of drugs and alcohol. And at this point in my life, I was up to 12 bong hits or so a day of marijuana. If you don't know what that is, a bong hit is a big water pipe. Let's just say it this way. What you do is you take the marijuana, put it in the bowl, and smoke it completely until it's gone. It's the most high you can get smoking marijuana. And I was up to 12 of those a day. I did have a job at the time, surprisingly. I was a test pilot. What would you think? I was the guy who, when it was time to study, someone would bring a bowl full of different colored pills and put it on the table and say, what's that green and black one do? I say, I don't know, give it to Jim, see what it does to him. And I'd gladly do it. You see? So at any rate, that particular evening, the place was called Stonehenge. I forgot to tell you this. Did I tell somebody I had multiple concussion syndrome? That's not a joke. So if I get off the rail, I'm going to look at you and say, what the hell was I just talking about, right? Yeah. We were having a Stonehenge party. That was the name of the trailer. We actually had a plaque over the door that said, we are the people our parents warned us about. That's how I test who's read electric Kool-Aid acid test, right? So, along the course of the evening, someone passed me a joint. I wouldn't smoke a joint because I had to smoke all those bong hits just to say hi. And then all those pills to get up and to get down and to sleep and to go to work and whatever. So at any rate, I bogarted the joint. And again, assuming that some people don't know what that is, I kept it for myself. Smoked it right down. Now, as much pot as I smoked, I was usually pretty mellow under the influence. But I knew something was wrong. I started to move around. I was running all over the place, and I tried to jump out through the living room window. And in those old trailers, remember the heavy glass louvers? I would have cut myself to shreds if I had done that. Next thing, I guess I got the munchies. Not unusual if you're smoking that much dope, right? So I tried to get into the refrigerator, which was stupid because we never had food in there, so we kept a lot of pot. But I didn't think it was a good idea to open the door. I kept smashing my head into the door, trying to get into the refrigerator. Well, it turns out, I found out later, that joint was laced with angel dust. Okay? I shouldn't even be here today. Maybe it brain damaged me, I don't know. But here's the important part. I got up in the morning and looked in the mirror. I went to the bathroom mirror. I remember this distinctly. And I just looked at myself. Looked like I went 3 or 4 rounds with Mike Tyson, and I said, this has got to stop. I can't live like this anymore. I just can't live like this anymore. And that's the day I quit. It's the day I quit drugs. I'd like to tell you the next day I went into a martial arts place, signed up, and my life was different. But there were some twists and turns along the way. The important thing is this, as I said, perfection is not a destination, it's a never-ending process. So what the heck has that got to do with you guys who are already black belts in business? You all have something you want to change. You have something you want to change. And you have a mirror. And that's the important part, you see? Now, there's a lot of different terms I use in the book, things like the black belt. What I'm trying to do there is, let's say, summarize all the different characteristics of a black belt mindset and just make it palatable. I'm a simple guy. I think it's beneficial if we take complex issues and we simplify them, work on the basics. In fact, quick story, you'll enjoy this one, John. Master Yamazaki, have you ever heard of him? He's a Japanese sword master. Met him a few years ago, well, many years ago, at a martial arts conference. Yamazaki told this wonderful story. And there's always a master and a student in these stories, right? The theme was, how do I become a sword master? Now, Master Yamazaki, I have to understand, didn't speak English very well, so most of this was through an interpreter. So when the student came to the master said 3 simple steps. Want to become a master? First step, basic practice. Sends him away, he studies for 3-4 years, practicing, comes back. He says, I need the second step now. Master says, great, second step, basic practice, exactly. Right, exactly. Sends him away again. Now he's chopping off heads, he's doing pretty good, comes back, he says, all right, master, I'm ready, I want to be a sword master. What's the third step? Now Yamazaki got his English on. He said, third step, more basic practice, like a Nike, just to do it. Right? And that's it. That's it. That's the whole process of thinking like a black belt. Never satisfied. Never happy with where we are. Happy maybe, not satisfied. Let's keep moving, let's keep growing, let's keep expanding. And that's why I brought this belt with me today, actually. I didn't bring this to make you think I was tough. I am. But this is the first belt that I earned, my first black belt. When I came back from the test, the master gave me this belt. And at that time, it was a deep, dark, rich, beautiful shade of black. Just as dark as night. But he told me this story. He said, if you stay in the martial arts, if you continue your life in the martial arts, you're going to tie and untie this belt thousands and thousands of times. You're going to get dragged across the floor in it, you're going to sweat in it, you're going to bleed in it, you're going to cry in it, and it's going to change. So eventually, the covering's going to wear out. And as you can see, what happens is, as that covering wears out over time, it reveals an inner core. You know, the belt inside there. You know, this one's kind of worn out, but it's white. What does the white belt represent? The beginning, right? That's where we start. So the belt of a master represents the mind of the beginner. Beginner's mind. And that is the mind of the master, isn't it? That is the mind of the master. Always learning, always growing, every day with a sense of wonder and curiosity. And then we can move and expand. So one of those concepts I wanted to share with you today is just that. Mastery. It's one of the most misunderstood concepts, I think, in our culture. When people think of a master, what do they think about? Someone who's made it. Right? You know the truth. You know the truth. Have you stopped learning, growing, developing, changing? Does everyone in your organization have the same mindset that you do? I think that's the secret. And I'm getting kind of cocky about this because I'm past 50 now, but I think we can solve most of our cultural problems with 2 simple things. If we can understand that process of continual change and perfection, we get more people to embrace it. And the way we do that is 2 ways. Okay? Discipline, the creation of intentional and purposeful habits, right? And respect. Caring for one another. Caring for one another. And that's it. And in fact, you know, the definition that I use for respect, we do a lot of work now in workplace culture, trying to instill this idea of respect within the workplace. Ignoring that can be very expensive, can't it? I think there was a case a couple of years ago, Aaron's Rental versus, I don't remember the young lady's name, it's not that important. The details are gruesome, I wouldn't share them with you. Look it up online and you'll find it. But suffice it to say, and this company deserved the fine, $95 million, one case. And when I studied the case, there were 100 steps along the way where that could have been avoided. 100 steps along the way. If those guys had heard this story. I was giving a talk for some young people in elementary school on respect and responsibility. And if I'm talking to the C-suite, I would ask you the same question. What does the word respect mean? That's how I started the presentation. What does that word mean? Very difficult to define it. In this room, I'm sure we'd have a dozen different definitions. Anyway, you know, I had the dictionary definition ready to go. Keep rolling on the presentation, right? But this young man stood up, and I think he was maybe in 3rd grade. And they told him Sensei was coming, so he bowed like that, right? He said, Sensei. He said, respect means taking care of one another. And I stopped apologizing for the hitch in my voice when I tell that story, because I can still see that young man staring at me with respect when he was telling that story and relating that definition. I went home and changed everything I was doing. That's the pivotal point in this whole story with Think Like a Black Belt. That kid turned me into a speaker. And I don't even know who it is. If it's one of you, let me know. I'm not splitting the royalties with you, but we can talk about other things. What a beautiful, beautiful concept from such a young person. Yes? If we install that in our organizational cultures and our community cultures again, we don't have any problems. We don't have any problems. So discipline and respect, I think, can solve most of the problems that we have. Let's get back to this idea of mastery for a second. As you said, mastery is an ongoing, never-ending process. Perfection is not a destination, it's a never-ending process. I can repeat myself a lot. You said the mind of the master is the beginner's mind. Now, what is the master's responsibility? The master's responsibility in martial arts culture is sharing, isn't it? We're supposed to be teachers at some point. I think that works pretty well in the C-suite too. Right? What we're really talking about, and I won't, well, you know what, I will teach you this. Let's play Think Like a Black Belt for a minute. I'm sorry, I don't do Q&As, this is how we do it. Play Think Like a Black Belt. When you hear the words black belt, what do you think of? What words come to mind? Let's do that one real quick.
Karate.
Karate, okay.
Dedication.
Dedication, I like that.
Expert.
Expert, discipline. Responsibility, nice. Okay.
Bruce Lee. A lot of work.
Bruce Lee. I don't think Bruce Lee ever earned a black belt.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that strange? No, it's in his tradition they didn't have that. Discipline, focus, dedication, responsibility, honor, all these different things. Are these words important in business? Have many of these words been forgotten in many businesses? And again, I'm going to say, it's so nice to be able to trumpet this, and from the heart, because I visited so many CEO clubs now. Everybody I've met from CEO clubs. In fact, I was telling the story before I left, and someone said, asked where you're going this week. And I told them about you guys. And they said, why do you enjoy the CEO club stuff so much? You're always so enthusiastic about going. I said, because of the inspiration I get from the people that are there. I said, they live this. I feel kind of cheap, like I'm preaching to the choir. That's okay. Validation is as important as education, and we need to stick together and get these things out there. Now, the other part of the Think Like a Black Belt game is this. Let's solidify this. And I've brought up a few books. I'm going to give these to anyone that can stump me. There it is. Oh, I should tell you that one. That picture on my book. I was doing a book signing one time. You guys get a kick out of this if you do book signings. And there was a display with all the books there. And this beautiful young lady came up to me and she said, she had met me before, and she said to her friend, I met this guy, but I haven't met this guy. And she was looking for this guy to sign the book too. I said, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's 2 for 1. One of the blessings of my life as a martial artist is that, and I've said this question for almost 20 years now, you can give me any challenge, any problem, whether it's business or personal, and I can find some way this mindset will fit. If you stump me, you get a book. If you don't, I might give you a book anyway. If one problem, one challenge, anything. If we're in the CEO club, I'd love to deal with business issues. And I can share with you how thinking like a black belt will make that better. You have no problems in this group. That's rare, that's good. Go ahead, who's going to shoot first?
About how to compensate summer interns.
You don't.
That's not necessarily what the...
In the martial arts tradition, we don't compensate those people. They scrub the floors, right? They do. Actually, that's the way we used to do it coming up. And we always would do everything for the master. The world's changed now, isn't it? How many people feel that they should be entitled to some certain level of compensation or an expectation of certain duties and responsibilities, or even worse, just treatment? And they haven't demonstrated anything yet, right? So I'd say to that one, that's actually a softball for me, thank you. See, in the internship world, and this is what I preach to the front lines if I were talking to a group of interns today, I would say this. I'd say it's your responsibility to demonstrate value, right? Your responsibility to show the master that you're worthy of his attention, or her attention. That's how the world should work. Sadly, it doesn't. That's why you hire me to come and talk to your frontline interns when we talk afterwards. Yeah. But I believe that's the way it should be. So with compensation, it's easy. But tell me what you're worth. Show me what you're worth. Should not just tell me, right? Show me what you're worth. What can you do for me? Then we'll start the negotiation back and forth. But I'd still have a bucket handy because that works real well. Tell them to scrub the floor. They'll be glad with whatever you give them after that. You got another one? Yes, sir.
Besides money, what is the best motivation for people?
Money is not the best motivation.
Right.
And I know I would defer to the people that are schooled in psychology for this one. But I think if I remember right, the hierarchy that's generally accepted is that money usually shows up third, fourth, or fifth, right? And the number one motivators, it depends who's doing the study, are what? Autonomy and a sense of purpose, right? Sense of purpose. And I think that sense of purpose one is the most powerful one. I really, really do. Autonomy is kind of a negotiation too. Some people have to demonstrate that they can handle the responsibility you're going to give them, right? But the sense of purpose is essential. It's essential. What are any of us going to do, right, if we don't have that internal drive to go out there and understand that our life and our work has meaning, right? Heard several stories about this. Do you care about your company? Do you work overtime? Well, what would appear as overtime? That's a laughable thing, isn't it? How many people here work an 8-hour day? There it is, right? That's a typical response. How many people work more than 12 hours regularly in a day? What did you say? Who is it that said that's a half a day's work? I love that. Yeah, gave him half a day off. You only had to work 12 hours. Amen. Work for yourself, right? Same thing. So yeah, it's that sense of purpose. It's identifying that sense of purpose. Now, let's talk about what the master does. In our martial arts tradition, we teach through questions. We teach through questions. We don't tell people what to do, right? We ask questions and see what can we draw out of that person. Do you think you get a little more power out of that punch? Yeah, maybe. How? Oh, geez, I don't know. You're the master. Yeah, well, what would happen if you turned your hips a little more? Okay, let's try it. Well, that feels good. What would happen if you extend a little more? Good. You see? And you keep drawing them out, and then you find that. I think that works just as well in the job interview process. I don't know what motivates anybody. Hell of a thing for a motivational speaker to say, but I don't. I don't know what motivates the people. We have those algorithms. But I do know this, if I sit down with somebody in 5 minutes, I guarantee you I will understand what motivates that individual. And sadly, I see a lot of executives that won't take that time. I did have an executive coaching client one time. Now, it's all mindset, soft skill stuff, but his problem was motivating his team. Let's see if this sounds familiar. He was in finance, ran a fund for a big insurance company. And he called me, and first thing I said when I saw where the phone call came from, I said, what the hell are you talking to me for? Right? He said, well, I'm a martial artist too. There's a connection there. And he said, I've got to spend X amount of dollars on training for myself, so I thought this would be fun. Actually, ended up giving him a couple of sword lessons too. His company pays for. But at any rate, here's his problem. In the boom days, his team didn't have to work that hard. They were rolling in money. They were falling into it. And these were mostly younger guys, younger than he was, not as much experience. But then when the recession started rolling in, things got tough. What happened to those guys? Right? Now, martial arts, we have all kinds of fortune cookies. Knock down 7 times, get up 8. Right? So we have to instill that mindset, and you have to instill that mindset. So he said, well, how do I do it? How do I motivate them? Now, here's the question that I asked him. I told him what I told you. I don't know how to motivate people. I have to ask questions. I have to know what motivate. So if you spend any time with the people on your team, any time, he said, no, I'm not that kind of manager. And I'm going to shorten the story tremendously. But this guy took the hair off my head. He said he didn't even like to meet with people. He didn't like to get personal. He didn't like to know anything about the people that were working with him. I can see from your faces that you'd freak out if you met the guy too. But at any rate, that was the first step. I gave him the stupidest exercise, and I said this to him. I said, you're going to think this is really stupid. I said, I want you to go to Hallmark. I want you to get some blank cards. And I said, the next time one of you guys does one little thing right, one little thing special, I want you to write a thank you note. Don't go hand it to him. I want you to mail it home to him and see what happens. I said, then when he comes to say thank you, then you take him out to coffee, and I want you to start talking with the person, as a person. He said, you're right, Jim. That's stupid. But he's not going to do it. Because I'd already given him the sword lesson. At any rate, he did it. How do you suppose that worked? Fantastic. He called a week later. I have to admit, I was kind of nervous because I said, here I am. And he was really one of my first big high-level clients. And here I don't have the credentials like Hirsch and you guys, you know. So I'm thinking, boy, I'm shooting from the hip. But I knew it from my own experience as a small business operator and just as a human being. Oh yeah, it worked. It worked. And word started getting around. you see. And he started sitting down and asking people questions. What do you care about? Why are you working here? Obviously, money was a pretty good motivator in that world, but he was surprised to find out it wasn't the only one. For him, it was, and he assumed that everybody else felt the same way. So there it is, the mind of the master, question, curiosity, always. Got time for one more? Got another one? Yeah.
Yeah, how do you,
Oh, I don't know anything about hotels. Except I stay in them.
you know about kids? The millennials that are out there now, the kids that are coming right out of school.
Yeah.
At least in our business, I'm sure a lot of the business, we're in the 7.4 business, so we hire these kids out of school, before now,
Right, yeah.
and, you know, the money coming out of school is not a lot.
Yeah.
Our salary for an entry level business is probably 45 grand.
Yeah.
Again, it's probably 60 hours a week. That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
And we find more often than not, kids get out of school, you explain everything to them, you have 55, 60 hours a week, it's nice, weekends, holidays, and that's the business work.
Yeah.
And then a year later, or less in certain cases, they bounce out, go work, you know, whether it's other industries or sometimes it's the
Yeah.
industry.
Or sometimes now I'm unemployment for 2 years.
And the kids nowadays are a lot different than when we got to work at. Not what you used to do, that was the fun in our industry.
Yeah. You're not alone. You're not alone. And again, maybe God knows some of these figures. I have a white paper that I wrote on this subject, the hard asset value of soft skills training. And if you can circulate, I can send that out to you guys. But at any rate, a wonderful team at, I think it was Knox College in Pennsylvania, did a study. They were running an entrepreneurs program there. And they wanted to identify, and I think they did it for marketing. They figured they had a pretty good program, and they do. They did. They have an even better one now because of this. They wanted to identify what it was that corporations and big businesses were looking for in their new hires and their professional hires. And then they wanted to contrast that with what was being delivered out of the schools. I'm sorry, the young guy leave because I'm going to crap on MBAs in a minute. But there's more. But at any rate, the number one thing was work ethic. That's what business people want, and I'd say small or large, right? The study happened to be a little skewed towards the large. And these guys figured, great, we got it. Except what happened? When they did the study, that was the thing that the colleges were not delivering. You see? They were not preparing people with a strong work ethic. The second one was a sense of general ethics. So they weren't stealing blind, right? So they weren't stealing from you blind, right? Talk about, or I'm talking retailers are always worried about shrinkage. Well, if you hire people who don't have the ethics, you're going to get a lot of shrinkage, right? That's the way it is. And on down the line. Now, I called this guy because I said, oh, thank you so much, you just saved me miles of research. I downloaded his report. I said, I'm going to quote you in my white paper. I said, I don't need permission, I'm asking for it. He said, we'd love to. And he actually did a couple of radio shows. But what a wonderful thing. I just went right across the line. And I said, okay, work ethic. I gave you some of the ideas behind Black Belt Mindset. How do we plug that in? Discipline, perseverance, focus, right? If we work on those things, those fundamentals, we can help someone develop more of a work ethic. There is a rub. If I'm talking to frontline folks, if you put me in a room in front of 100 of the people you described, here's what's going to happen, and I'm very upfront about it. 20 of them are going to be like evangelists. Yes, focus, discipline, yes, that's cool. Validation's as important as education. I call them the movers. They're the people that are going to do something for you, right? And they're either going to move up or move out. Either way, it's good. You want those people. Even if they're not going to stay, you want those people because they'll work real hard while they're there. They understand what we're talking about. There's 60% in the middle. That's where the top 20 and the bottom 20 are coming from. The bottom 20 are going to look at me and say, I don't care what this guy says. He's full of crap. You see? Now, to me, I say, now, when that happens in that room, provided that they're forced to be there, they have to pay rent, fire those 20 immediately, because the stuff I'm talking about is so fundamental. If they don't have it, you don't want them. The top 20, we got to find a place for them to go, if we can. If not, enjoy them while they're there. That middle 60% is what we're looking for. The middle 60% is where we can change some minds, because those people don't know where they're at yet. They have some seeds of what we're talking about, but maybe haven't developed it. And why? Because the problem we just isolated. It's not just you, I hear this all over the country. We're not producing young people that have the drive and the ambition that they need, with notable exceptions. See? But overall, that is a problem. So what do? I think we have to go back to that sense of personal responsibility. If we're not getting that, then we have to provide it. We have to provide it as employers. We have to emphasize the soft skills. Maybe I'm speaking out of school. Are these things not important? Anybody want to debate that? That's fine if you like to. See? I'm right up against that. What the heck is, what are you going to come in here and teach karate? No, I said I'm going to teach about discipline. Well, how important is that? I said, well, you just told me people don't have it. How expensive is that? How expensive is that? So I hope that answers the question. Training, we got to train them. And if they're not coming to you that way, I'm sorry, you got to do something to fix it. Society threw that problem on your lap, right? Yeah.
Let me ask you your input on a management strategy that I have. We have in our company. This is a little bit different than what you're talking about. I have 211 employees, and I will not let any of them call me Mr. Simmons. I told him he was my father. My name is Bill. Okay, and what you need to understand is that we're in it together, the WIT theory. Because every time you answer the phone, open a piece of mail to a client or a prospect, you are the company. I can tell them anything I want, but you are the company at that point. Now, 6 months from now, a year from now, particularly if they have a problem. And what happens is that we have this all-inclusive idea. That's the organization strategy. Now they feel part of the team. We have a receptionist who answers the phone who can smile right through the telephone. And she does it when I'm there, when I'm not there, and when nobody else is looking. We're in it together, all of us. The other thing that happens is that every year when we make a profit, we take a certain amount of it, put in the 401k, certain in reserves and the rest of it, and we split it among the employees based on their performance rate. This is in addition to regular bonuses, salary, raises, and all of that. As I keep telling them, we're in it together. You see, we're not going to make any money unless you do your part. And then as a close of that little talk, I ask them, what do you think the company is? Where is the company? And a lot of them say it's at 6 North Park Drive.
That's where you're going,
And I said, no, it isn't. It's between your ears and hers, and his, and mine, and all 211 of us. Because when people do business with us, they get all 211 of us. That's what I think. And it's a very different mindset than what they're working for. So far, we've made the Inc. 500 4 times in a row, had a 5,000% growth rate, and all the rest of it from scratch. But it seems to work for me. What do you think of that as a strategy?
I think you got to wear it. You think like a black belt.
Thank you.
You think like a black belt. I mean, seriously, think of everything that Bill just described.
I'd raise that for the tape if you could.
Bill thinks like a black belt. Now we're doing camera work. Does he? I mean, think of what he just said. That's the kind of community we try to build in a dojo. Dojo means the place of the way, is the rough translation. It's a Japanese term for tomorrow. Right? And everybody in there is working inclusively. Let me tell you a quick story about a logo that we developed for our Northern Martial Arts Centers. We have 3 little figures on the logo. 3 little people. I think they roughly look like this. See? And when people ask what that is, it's okay. Here's what it is. It represents the relationships that we have inside the dojo. Substitute the word business. Right? First one, teacher to student. You have to share, right? You have to teach people your culture. You have to share that with them in order for them to understand it and come along. Second one is student to student. Because that's where all the training happens. And when I talk about leadership, I talk about leadership at all levels. A frontline person should understand leadership as I teach it. Everybody should be a leader. So student to student. Because that's, again, where your culture builds, right? And all the research backs that up. We didn't need the research, we did that. Now, no offense to anyone who did it, but then the third one is student to teacher. That's really the cycle, right, where the student becomes, again, the leader and the teacher. That's what you're doing with that type of culture there. Now, it doesn't stop there. Everything that I'm talking about, the Asian philosophy I borrow from, does not think in linear terms. It's all cyclical, circular. right? It's a nice cycle, ever expanding. Your numbers prove it, and I couldn't imagine you not having even greater success if you keep that culture strong. Yeah?
We've been in business 33 years, and every time I give them one of those little additional profit sharing,
Yeah.
they said, some of them say thank you. And I said, don't thank me, thank yourself
Yeah.
for doing a good job and earning it. You earned it.
There you go. There you go. That's a beautiful story. Thank you. You just give him a hand. That's a great hand. You did. You were the first one. Make sure we get these. I told you multiple concussions. Who else? Who else asked one? Jim asked one. Jim asked one. He doesn't read that. It's a good bathtub reading. You can do it in small doses. What we're really talking about is power. And you just gave me a wonderful segue. Thank you. I'm going to take you wherever I go to. I can't pay you probably as much as you made that. We're talking about power. That's what martial arts is all about. It's about power. It's not sugarcoated. Right? If I'm learning how to punch, I want a more powerful punch. I want to be able to defend myself. I want to be able to make myself stronger physically and mentally. It's about power. So what is power? Define it. You need a quick definition of power.
Right?
Transfer of energy?
Strength? No. Transfer of energy? Yeah. Control.
Mind over
I know what I mean, aren't I? What's that?
Mind over matter.
That's the new age stuff. Sorry. Control?
Influence.
Influence.
Understanding.
Understanding.
Knowledge.
Seriously? There's, what did you say?
Knowledge.
I'll do that. Now we got this debate. I'll challenge that one. Knowledge? Yeah. Thank you. You're going to get a book too.
Experience.
Let's work on knowledge. How many people believe knowledge is power? Money? Oh yeah? Then how come all rich, smart people aren't powerful? And so many stupid, desperate people are? Right? But here's the thing. Here's power. Here's the dictionary definition, the philosophical dictionary definition of power. What's that?
Desire.
Desire? No, I'm going to fight with him.
Will.
Power is your ability or capacity to perform or act effectively. And when I saw that, I was trying to look for something literary to put in my books. When I found that definition, I said, I don't need another one. Power is your ability or capacity to perform or act effectively. So is power good or is power evil? Yes, that's the right answer. Depends on your intention, right? Depends how you're going to use it. The trick is, no different than a martial artist practicing, where he revealed that secret. I know I gave away the secret of martial arts, and I'm going to get drummed out or whatever. It's about making yourself better, making yourself more effective. Now, how does power grow and expand? Or, sub-question, can you do it all yourself? See? That's what you got to with your culture that you instill. No one of us can do it all ourselves, right? So power only expands through sharing. And now we're really back to what you said, sir, about this new generation of people, right? How do we get these people to be more powerful, more engaged in their work? Well, by making them more effective. Giving them the opportunity to be more effective. Give them the opportunity to be more effective. And then watch who embraces the opportunity. And that's where I get pretty hardcore about it too. I'm often asked, can you take someone who's very weak in that area and make them better? No. No. And I'm sorry, this is business, right? If someone isn't willing to meet you part way, what can you do for them? Nobody could have helped me quit drugs. Nobody. Some people tried. Some people tried, seriously. I needed that mirror. I needed to see my face in the mirror before I would take that step. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes that type of extreme experience in business as well. But that's it. Power expands through sharing. It's up to us as the masters to share our power. And a lot of that's through teaching. So teaching involves what? Wisdom, love, respect. Those three things I believe we should share unconditionally. No expectation of return. In business, we have to monitor who accepts and who nourishes those gifts. But that's it. Those are the things as leaders we need to share unconditionally. Wisdom, respect, okay, and love. If we do that, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. All right? Good. Now, I know you guys want to get out, probably enjoy the nice day. Yeah? I do too. It's beautiful. Nice. And, I should say this too. When I went to Texas, I wore my jeans. I didn't have any cowboy boots. I got bad feet. So I'm kicking people in the head, right? Here, So what am I going to wear in Baltimore? Well, a buddy of mine said, well, you got to wear something purple. Well, don't hit me, but I'm a Patriots fan from birth, so I didn't really pull that off anyway. And besides, the only purple I have really is a pretty loud golf shirt that I put. But I love this city. I love this city. I would love to come back. If you would like me to work with any of your organizations, just let me know afterwards, and we can talk about that. The one thing that I will say, this was tough. I was just teasing Sharon about this. I'm going to start a fight right now. John, you help me referee. What's the best crab cake in Baltimore?
Which one?
Apples. Anybody else on the run?
That's what I mean. I'll give you a quick martial arts story. How many martial artists here, John, you can do this? How many martial artists does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Depends if they're a student, teacher, or not.
There you go.
I couldn't hear what he said.
How many martial artists does it take to screw in a light bulb? And he said student, teacher, master. It takes 100. It takes 99. One to actually screw in the light bulb. 99 to tell you how they would have done it differently. I'm getting the same impression with the crab cakes around here. So I've got a few hours to go. Hopefully I'll get some crab cakes. Now let's go back to the dojo as we wrap things up. We all start someplace. We all start someplace. As I said, I wish with that story I gave you earlier, I'd say I looked in that mirror, right? And I turned around, strapped on a gi, and my life was different. Not so much. Life is tough. Life is tough. And it's the people that persevere are the ones that are going to make it. Knock down 7 times, get up 8. How many failures do you face in business before you have that one great success? When I got done with that drug adventure, I was living in Portland, Maine, and a girlfriend had just left me for a professional hockey player of all things. I was living in a trailer, in a music business. Living in an apartment, upstairs apartment in a very bad part of town. She took all the furniture. I was left with a milk crate and a black and white television, and football season was starting. This was a bad day for Jim. My brother had been working on me for some time and said, I really think you got to get involved in martial arts, turn your life around. Well, I took a walk. I tell you, she took the car too. Oh, man. Anyway, we're friends now, don't worry. I'm walking up the street in Portland, and there was a giant sign that read karate in big 6-foot letters, karate. And I walked in. It was a second-floor walk-up. It used to be a dress shop. So I walked up, and I see these 2 guys, I think one was an orange belt, one was a yellow belt, I thought they were gods, throwing each other around. Because it was an old dress shop, it had a swept-up staircase and a wooden deck. So when these guys were hitting the boards, oh man, boom! I thought, this is so cool! And I turned around and walked right back down the stairs again. See? Thankfully, my first master must have been desperate for students because he chased me down the stairs and grabbed me. And he said, look like you're interested in this. I said, yeah, that's pretty good. Came up with every excuse in the book. I don't have time. I don't have the money. I'm out of shape. All different things like that. You know what he said? Got to start somewhere. Got to start somewhere. Y'all have something you want to change. Y'all have a mirror. And y'all got to start somewhere. And I think the leaders that I admire are the ones who always have that attitude, no matter how accomplished they are. We do a quick little ceremony when we award our black belts. I ask everybody to raise their hands up. I say, now reach down, pat yourself on the back. I let that go for about 3 seconds. I said, okay, that's enough. Let's get back to work. Let's get back to work. That's how you think about the black belt. So I'll leave you with the same words I started with. Perfection is not a destination. It's a never-ending process. Perfection is not a destination. It's a never-ending process. Enjoy.
Any final questions for Jim before we wrap it up? Okay, thank you all. And see you next meeting. Have a great summer, everybody.
Great job.